Thank you very much for joining us once again today, and we are discussing today GoAML. AML stands for anti-money laundering. We'll see these are the table of contents, and we'll be covering what is GoAML, its history and reasons of implementation, how GoAML works, benefits of GoAML in UAE, compliance requirements, who are liable to register for GoAML and what are their obligations. In case the peoples who are liable to register, they are not getting themselves registered and they are not fulfilling the obligation, we'll see what will be the implications of non-compliance. We'll see what is the way forward from 2 days onward. Then we will see how Crest Cooper can help you to be GoAML compliant and to fulfill the responsibility towards the state. GoAML introduction, history and reasons of implementation. GoAML is simply integrated and modular online software. This software has been developed by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. And this software has been developed to be used by the financial intelligence units of the different countries. The data sent by the accountable person goes to the common database from where this is accessible to the financial intelligence units. The system permits electronic data collection from accountable persons and competent authorities and dissemination to the law enforcement agencies and other competent authorities. So simply we can say this is a software which has been developed by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. This software has been developed to be used by the financial intelligence units of the different countries, and this software is helpful to collect the data and disseminate the data to the respective law enforcement agencies and competent authorities. So now the question arises, what is financial intelligence units? So we can say financial intelligence unit is a central national agency responsible for receiving and disseminating the competent authority disclosure of financial information. So we can say each country has one financial intelligence unit, and this unit is responsible for receiving and disseminating to the competent authority information related to the finance, or we can say they are responsible to disclose the financial information. As we discussed in the previous slide, the software has been developed by the UNODC, United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, and this software required to be used by the financial intelligence units of the different countries. The member countries of UNO are the member countries of FATF. These countries are liable to implement the software, and United Nations claim that as of today 111 financial intelligence units are engaged to implement the AML software, GoAML software. Out of this, 56 countries have already deployed GoAML software. This is the slide that we have taken from the United Nations site. What are the reasons of implementation of GoAML? The GoAML application was developed as a strategic response to financial crime and against money laundering proceeds of crime and the financing of terrorism. Second thing, this is GoAML application is used by the financial intelligence units to gather information in a systematic way on the suspicions of the reporting entity to assist them in the combating money laundering and financing of terrorism. So two key important, first of all, this is a strategic response from the United Nations towards financial crime. Second thing, this is a centralized source to gather the information in a strategic way related to the suspicious transactions. So this is the history that I summarize. I say money laundering and terror financing are global problems. FATF was established in 1989 by G7 countries to combat money laundering. 40 recommendations on money laundering published in 2004 by FATF. After 9/11, 40 recommendations related to the money laundering were updated by the FATF, and they further introduced 9 more recommendations related to the terror financing. So we can say there are total 49 recommendations. 40 belongs to the money laundering, 9 pertains to the terror financing. These all overall called basically recommendations of FATF. Out of these 49 recommendations, recommendation number 20, this deals with the suspicious transactions. All member countries are required to implement these recommendations. The countries which are the members of FATF or the countries which are the members of United Nations, these all countries are required to implement these 49 recommendations. Office on Drugs and Crime of United Nations conducted a study on to determine the magnitude of illicit funds. They have found, this study was conducted in 2009, and they have found that on annual basis $1.6 trillion are being laundered. And to control this, they have developed GoAML application, and this GoAML application has been developed by the Information Technology Service of UNODC. GoAML application is fully integrated software specifically designed for use to be the financial intelligence units. As we discussed, recommendation 20 deals with the reporting of suspicious transactions. It has been very clearly written in the FATF recommendations. If the financial institution suspects or has reasonable ground to suspect that funds are the proceeds of criminal activity or related to terror financing, it should be required by the law to report properly its suspicions to the financial intelligence unit. This was the requirement. This was the recommendation 20, and for this recommendation 20, GoAML was developed and it is being implemented by the financial intelligence units of the respective countries. I'm pretty sure you would be in a position to know what is GoAML. We know this is a software. It has been developed by the United Nations. This is being used by the financial intelligence units of the various countries. So now the question arises, how GoAML works. There are three major functions of GoAML. First is collection of information. GoAML will collect the information in a systematic way from the various units. Second, GoAML will do the analysis of the information. This is the rule-based, algorithm-based analysis of the information. Then, after doing the analysis of the information by the financial intelligence units of the respective country, this information will be shared by the financial intelligence unit with the respective intelligence agencies, regional institutions, or international institutions. This is a thread that we are taken from the United Nations website. They have mentioned the same thing. GoAML application has three primary solutions. First, information collection. Second, analysis of the information. Third is the exchange of information. And the beauty of this product is, beauty of this application is, this application collects information from the various sources on the standard format, like these formats of cash transaction report, suspicious transaction reports, electronic funds transfer, list-based reports such as reports generated from the list of known terrorist identities. So this application will gather the data from multiple sources, and this information will be transferred to the financial intelligence units. So this application will collect the information, analyze the information, disseminate the information to the different authorities. Then this application has the interface as well. Like this application has interface with the National Operational Database, Europol, Interpol, and Egmont Group. This information has interfaces with the various databases, various authorities, and information from the GoAML will be transferred to the different bodies, and they will be in a position to analyze the information. So Egmont Group, this is non-political voluntarily international entity of operational financial intelligence committed to provide a platform for financial intelligence units to improve cooperation in the effective exchange of information to combat money laundering and terror financing, foster the implementation of domestic programs, and promoting the development of effective financial intelligence units. Benefits of GoAML. Benefits are obvious because this is a system, integrated system that is standardized product, standardized and uniform platform to gather the information, standardized platform to share the information with the different bodies, graphical user interface, it means it can be used very easily, and this is the modular, fits the needs of the various financial intelligence unit irrespective of the low or high volume of transactions. GoAML in UAE. We have already discussed all member countries of FATF are required to implementation 49 recommendation that we have discussed earlier. GCC is a member of FATF. UAE is a member of GCC, so ultimately UAE also liable to implement the recommendations of FATF. In 2018, in September 2018, UAE introduced Federal Law 20 of 2018 that deals with the anti-money laundering and terror financing. In Feb 2019, UAE introduced Cabinet Decision 10 of 2019 concerning the implementations of Federal Law 20 of 2018. In June 2019, Financial Intelligence Unit of the Central Bank of UAE launched the anti-money laundering platform GoAML. So GoAML was launched in UAE in June 2019. In July 2020, National Committee for Combating Money Laundering and Financing of Terrorism was established. In October 2020, Cabinet Decision 74 was introduced that deals with the terrorism list regulations and its implementation. In November 2020, Ministry of Justice creates special federal courts for anti-money laundering. In November, in the same months of 2020, UAE set up local courts specializing in money laundering and tax evasion crime. After this, various guides has been introduced by the UAE and various circular has been introduced as well. So all these steps taken by the UAE government shows the seriousness of the government to combat the money laundering and terror financing. In June 23rd and 2019, UAE Central Bank's Financial Intelligence Units launched the new anti-money laundering platform which is called GoAML. We know this GoAML is an application developed by the United Nations, and this application will be used by the financial intelligence units of the various countries. So the same application has been implemented by the UAE as well. UAE is the first country in the GCC to go live with the GoAML platform, and as required by the UAE laws on money laundering and terror financing, around more than 900 entities are liable to register in the GoAML application. So the financial intelligence units of UAE, initially in 1998, Central Bank of UAE set up special units for investigating fraud and suspicious transactions. The name was amended in 2002 as Money Laundering, Anti-Money Laundering and Suspicious Cases Unit. In 2014, the name was again amended Financial Intelligence Department. In 2018, the name of the unit was declared as the Financial Intelligence Unit. So now the question arises, who are liable to register on the GoAML? Every entity is liable to register on the GoAML? No, not at all. So who are liable to register? It had been given in the law that financial institutions are liable to register, and their financial institution, it has been defined in the law. Anyone who conducts one or several of the following financial activities, operations on behalf of the customer. So this is a long list of the activities which has been given in the regulations. So any business which is conducting any of those activities for the customers, so they are liable to register for the GoAML. So these bodies are banks, exchange houses, insurance companies, finance houses, providing credit facility of any type, entity involved in finance lease with a long list. The long list, and any of the entity which is performing such types of businesses, they are in the such type of business, they are liable to register to GoAML. Moreover, they said designated non-financial businesses and professions are liable to register as well. It has been defined very clearly that these designated non-financial businesses and professions are liable to register on GoAML. These brokers and real estate agents, dealers in the precious metals and precious stones, lawyers, notaries, and other independent legal professionals, auditors and accountants are liable to register as well. Business service provider are liable to register as well. Various regulatory authorities are liable to register. These are the competent government authorities entrusted with the implementation of any provision of the law in the state, and among others it includes the following, like JAFZA. The DED will be liable to register, DAFZA, Safe Free Zone, Iraqi, Hamria Free. These are the names of few authorities. There are a lot of comprehensive list of authorities. They will be liable to register on the GoAML as well. So what are their obligations? If they are registered, what are they required to do? So there are 6 important tasks they are required to fulfill. First, identify risk, mitigate risk, customer due diligence, suspicious transactions, governance framework, maintaining record. These six requirements, they are liable to fulfill all these requirements. First, considering the identification of the risk. Considering all the relevant factors such as customers, countries, geographic areas, products and services, they are liable to identify the risk. Second, they are liable to develop the internal policies, controls and records that will mitigate this risk. Second, they are liable to do the customer due diligence. We will see in the next slide. Customer due diligence is very compulsory. They are liable to identify and report the suspicious transactions as well. They are liable to put in place the adequate governance framework for anti-money laundering and terror financing, including appointment of compliance officer. They are liable to maintain the record for 5 years at least as well. So these are the 6 major categories, and they are liable to comply all these categories. Customer due diligence, we have just discussed that we'll discuss in detail the customer due diligence, and customer due diligence is compulsory in the following cases. Like whenever you are setting up a relationship, you are establishing business relationship, this is compulsory that you need to perform the customer due diligence. Occasional transaction in favor of customer for amounts equal to or exceeding 55,000, whether the transaction carried in a single transaction or several transactions, then you are liable to perform the customer due diligence. In a occasional transaction in the form of wire transfer having a value more than 3500 dirham, you are liable to perform the customer due diligence. Where there is a suspicion of the crime, you are liable to perform the customer due diligence. And at the end, where there are doubts about the veracity, adequacy of the previously obtained customer identification data, you are liable to perform the customer due diligence as well. So these are the 5 categories where the customer due diligence is compulsory for every entity which has been registered on the GoAML. Compliance officer, it has been given in the article 21 of the regulations. Financial institutions, we have already discussed what are the financial institutions which are subject to GoAML. And DNFBP, we already discussed, this is designated non-financial business and professions, I think. Yeah, designated non-financial business and professions. Shall appoint, this is compulsory, this is mandatory for them to appoint a compliance officer. This appointment can be internal or they can outsource as well. The compliance officer shall have the appropriate competencies and experience under which his or her own responsibility shall perform the following task. So basically this is compulsory for the entities, authorities which are registered on the GoAML, this is compulsory for them to appoint the finance officer. This compliance officer can be internal person or it can be outsourced as well, and following is the responsibility of the finance officer. First of all, compliance officer is responsible to detect the transaction related to the any crime. Second, they are liable to review, scrutinize, study the records, receive data and related to the suspicious transaction, and they are liable to take the decisions to either notify the financial intelligence units or not. Internal rules and procedures. Review the internal rules and procedures and check its consistency with the law and present decisions. Assess the extent to which the institution is committed to the application of these rules and procedures. Propose what is needed to update the rules and procedure. Prepare and submit semi-annual reports on these points to the senior management. Send a copy of that report to the relevant supervisory authority, enclosed with the senior management remarks and decision. These all are required related to the internal rules and procedures, and the core objective is to make sure that the management has the intention to set up the procedures as per the related law. The procedures are in place to detect the suspicious transactions, and these are being updated on a regular basis. They are required to submit the report as well. So the compliance officer is liable to prepare and execute the document ongoing training and development program for the institution's employee. At the end, the compliance officer is responsible to collaborate with the supervisory authority and financial intelligence units to provide them with the all requested data and allow them are their authorized employees to view the necessary records and documents. So these are the key responsibilities of the compliance officer. You can appoint a compliance officer internally, as I mentioned, or you can outsource as well. So every compliance officer will be subject to these responsibilities. Now we have discussed what are the implications, what are the basically requirement of the entities or body which has been registered with the GoAML. In case there is a non-compliance, then what will be the implications? They said failure to report a suspicious transaction. This is a criminal offense. Second thing, we know that the due date of registration is 31st March 2021. If the entity is not being registered before, entity or the institutions or the authority is not being registered before the due date, which is 31st March 2021, then it will be considered that the entity, body or the institution has contravened the Article 20 of the Cabinet Decision 10 of 2019 for failing to put procedure in place for reporting the suspicious transaction. There are penalties as well for any violation of the law or the related regulation that were discussed earlier. These penalties can be in administrative penalties, or it can be financial penalties ranging from 50,000 dirham to 5 million dirham for each violation. Be careful, guys. Article 17.3 of the regulation states that financial institutions and designated non-financial business and professions, their board members, employees and authorized representatives shall not be legally liable for any administrative, civil or criminal liability for reporting when reporting to the unit or providing information in good faith. Very good thing for. What is the way forward? What are you liable to do? So first of all, you need to appoint or outsource compliance officer. Second thing, get your entity registered before 31st March 2021. There are two-stage registration. You need to be very careful. First, you need to register at one place. Then you need to register after getting the code from the Ministry of Economy, I think. Ministry of Economy. Once you are getting the code, then you will be, this is a two-stage registration process. So get your entity registered on or before 31st March 2021. Then it will be the responsibility of the compliance officer to identify and assess the risk. It will be the responsibility of the compliance officers to establish, document and update policies and procedures to mitigate the identified risk. Compliance officer will be liable to maintain adequate risk-based customer due diligence. We have discussed in detail where the due diligence is required and ongoing monitoring procedure. Compliance officer will be liable to identify and report suspicious transactions. Compliance officer will put in place adequate governance framework, and it will be the responsibility of the compliance officer to maintain adequate record for 5 years. So these are the way forward. So as we discussed, just go ahead, get your entity registered, appoint compliance officer, and it will be the responsibility of the compliance officer to do all these things. At the end, the last thing is how Crest Cooper can help. So basically this is straightforward and simple thing. Whatever we have discussed till now, we are happy to help, and we are happy to get your entity registered for GoAML. We can identify and assess the GoAML risk, provided that we have been appointed as a compliance officer. Then we can design policies and procedure to mitigate the risk. We can help to perform the customer due diligence, and we can help to monitor the ongoing process, to update the ongoing process and policies to make sure their suspicious transactions are being identified on timely basis. Then we can help to identify the suspicious transaction, and we can help in the reporting as well. Will be very helpful to put in place the governance framework. At the end, we will be advising to the client to maintain the record at least for 5 years, which is required by the law. So in case you are in need of any support, you can approach us on our UAE info@crestcooper.com. You can give us a call as well. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm pretty sure it will be helpful for you. It will be a very constructive session. Thank you and have a lovely day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching the video. Click on the bell and subscribe to the YouTube channel.